Welcome to the Wild Chat. It's been a little bit of a break. You had final season. Northwestern. We kind of got, a little, we kind of thought we were going to be in, and then it got a little scary at the end. But Northwestern managed to get back to the tournament. First time back-to-back tournaments in program history. Obviously made it last year. Dylan, how are we feeling about March Madness?
Terrible. I hate this
Oh,
draw for Northwestern. I hate everything that is about to happen for Northwestern. As a South Floridian, the fact that we have to play FAU terrifies me because I wanted to go to like Flanagan's or something to watch this game. And now I'm going to go to Flanagan's and probably be the only Northwestern fan there, surrounded by a bunch of FAU fans yelling hoot hoot. Um, I hate this overall. The fact that then if we win, we have to play UConn. I'm terrified. It's March
dude,
though, and
Stetson,
anything
go
can happen in
Stetson,
March.
go Stetson.
Go Stetson.
How about them
Look,
Hatters?
UConn hasn't gotten their postseason loss out of the way yet because they won the Big East tournament. So it's got to come somewhere. So
Or it just doesn't happen at
I
all.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I'm scared though. But it is March. Good things happen in March. It's spring break as well. Happy spring break. That's why Ashley's not here. She's busy spring breaking somewhere.
In North Carolina. Oh,
She's
no, no, she's in Nashville. She's in
Is
Nashville.
she in Nashville now? I know she was going back and forth. Okay. Well, yeah. Anyways, spring break, March. It's a good time. Let's dive into this matchup. I don't know. What are we talking about
Yeah,
here,
I
Adam?
guess let's just talk matchup. I mean, this FAU team is so interesting to me because they're an 8 seed, obviously. This is the 8-9 matchup in Brooklyn on Friday afternoon. Basically, it's Friday morning. It's quite nice though, because I don't have to like fly anywhere. I can just hop on the Q train, take a little 45-minute train ride down to Brooklyn and be there. I'm pumped to be there. I think this is going to be sadly a once in a lifetime opportunity to catch a Northwestern March Madness game. No, it's not going to be. In the era of NIL, in the era of Chris Collins building Northwestern to a basketball powerhouse in the Big Ten. Um, we will see more March Madness runs, but for now, this is definitely going to be, an opportunity to catch the Cats in postseason play. But it's really interesting. FAU, right? 8 seed. Should they really be an 8 seed? They've got a couple quad
No.
four losses. They've obviously have really good wins. They beat Arizona. They put up a really good fight against Illinois earlier this year. It's almost like a tale of two halves for this team. The first half of the year was overall pretty strong, other than a loss to Bryant. Have quality wins against teams in the field like Charleston. Other quality teams that didn't quite make the tournament: Loyola Chicago, Butler, Virginia Tech. They literally this team is legit at times, but at other halves of the year, just go non-existent. And it's kind of like what version of FAU shows up. If I was personally making the bracket, they probably had a 10 seed. This is a high octane offense. Shoot it from the outside. Has one of the best scorers in all of college basketball. I know Dylan is a big fan of him.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan because my bracket name is Johnell Davis Hate Club. I'm
Oh,
terrified of it. Is a better word to say. I'm terrified of what he's about to possibly do to Northwestern. I'm just getting flashbacks to, his buzzer beater against Memphis last year in the round of 64. Do not want that happening again. You mentioned this like inconsistency from FAU, and that's been a stretch of theirs throughout the year, but also within games. Because the thing with FAU is, I don't know if they've necessarily played a ton of full 40-minute games. They are a team that either starts out a game incredibly strong and then kind of falls off and somehow is able to win that game, or starts off very slow, is trailing by 10, 15 at half, and then goes on a magical run in the second half. Northwestern needs to play a full 40 minutes in this game because FAU goes on stretches where they're inconsistent within games as well as throughout the game. And that's a big part of where Northwestern can win. Northwestern started really strong against Wisconsin in that Big Ten tournament. They were up like 21-10. They allowed them like an 18-2 run. And ever since then, Northwestern just trailed against Wisconsin. You can't allow big runs like that as well.
and I'm just quickly pulling up the Ken Palm numbers because I'm kind of curious. Because this is an FAU team, as I said, very much an offensive-minded basketball team. They're 16th in Ken Palm in offensive efficiency, outside of the top 100 in defensive efficiency. For comparison, Northwestern ranks 30th in the country in Ken Palm in offensive efficiency, and 72nd in defensive efficiency. So, in those top quadrants of both of those metrics. But I think the bigger interesting thing is kind of the tempo difference. FAU, very good offensive team, but not necessarily super fast. They're in the mid 100s in terms of tempo. Northwestern's at 342 in terms of tempo. They're one of the slowest teams in all of college basketball. I mean, if you watch Northwestern in the second half of a basketball game, right? It is Boo Buie with the ball for 15 seconds at the logo. And then it's like, oh, let's get into our offensive set. I think it could be problematic against FAU. I mean, they've got shooters. They're really able to score the basketball at will. So if Northwestern kind of trails early, especially, it might be hard to get back into things in the second half. I think you're really going to need to see a really strong performance early on, and then kind of Northwestern dictating the pace of play. Similar to how that first half of that Wisconsin game went, or honestly, the first half of that Wisconsin game, Northwestern got out to that huge lead. Boo Buie was cooking from everywhere, but then slowed the game down. But that against a team like Wisconsin, that it kind of strives to play in that slower game, that kind of allowed them to get back into things. Against an FAU team, though, I think that you kind of have to build. You got to start strong, work from that, point of leading the game, and then kind of slow things down, and not give FAU the possessions where their superior offense can overpower the basketball game.
You mentioned Boo Buie, and Boo Buie is obviously going to have an incredible game. Homecoming, essentially, for him, being from Albany, not that far from
Very
Brooklyn.
far, Dylan, actually, like quite far.
Okay, well,
3 hours.
New York.
Like
He's in New York.
Why don't you pull up a map, maybe?
He's in New York.
New
He's
York, yeah.
from New York. It's closer than South Florida to Brooklyn.
It's
By
like
the way, I'm thrilled.
It's low key the equivalent of like Orlando, I would say, like the distance.
Hey, sure, but I almost went to Orlando last year if Northwestern was playing in Orlando.
Well,
I'm glad I don't have to game from during a Panthers game as well. Very happy that it's Friday at noon. Anyways, besides Boo Buie, I honestly think that the key to this game will be Luke Hunger and Blake Preston.
Because I love it.
While Johnell Davis scares me for FAU, he is not the guy that I think will end up beating Northwestern, because I think Davis and Buie can kind of go just blow for blow, and one of them might outmatch the other, but I don't think that's where the game is coming down to. I think this game comes down to Luke Hunger and Blake Preston playing defense against Vladislav Goldin. We don't have Matt Nicholson, most likely. Nothing's been reported, but I'm assuming we've seen him in a boot on a scooter. I'm assuming Nicholson's not playing.
No shot.
Goldin is 7-1 for FAU. He's averaging over 15 points per game, 6.8 rebounds a game this year. Northwestern has to find a way to limit him some way, and I think that's got to be somehow Preston or Hunger playing some defense and somehow figuring out a way to kind of lock him down.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be staying out of foul trouble, really, because I mean, if Preston goes down with foul issues, then you have Luke Hunger, and if both of them go down with foul troubles, I mean, is Nick Martinelli running the 5? Like it's a serious conversation of like what happens. And I think even if Northwestern gets past FAU, then obviously probably are going to play UConn. 99.9% chance they play UConn. And I'd argue, although you've got the
Hatters.
Yeah, go Hatters for starters. Although you got the All-American in Tristan Newton on that UConn Huskies team, I think the most dominant player on the court for that Huskies squad is Donovan Clingan. I mean, he's 7'2". He does everything for that team. When I watch UConn basketball, yes, Newton is absolutely a great player. You've got Cam Spencer, you got Alex Caravan, but the guy who really sticks out to me is Donovan Clingan, and I just don't see a way for Northwestern to like match his unique athleticism and offensive abilities on both ends. Had a double-double in the first half in the Big East championship game against Marquette. I mean, this guy's legit. So I just think that's going to be the issue with Northwestern. They have the guard play. In March, everybody talks about the guard play. Does your team have the guard play? Does your team have the experience? Yes. Ryan Langborg, we saw what he did in the tournament last year. Boo Buie, obviously one of the best players in the country. Should have been on the Bob Cousy Award finalist. I don't know how he's not. I don't know how anybody in their right mind thinks Boo Buie is worse than Braden Smith. Don't get me wrong. Massive respect for Braden Smith. Honestly, more respect for Braden Smith than the average non-Purdue basketball fan. I think he's a fantastic basketball player, but he is not better than Boo Buie in any sense. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm just going to go on a rant about Braden Smith now. Sorry, Dylan. But he's averaging about like 12 and a half, 7 assists, five or so rebounds. Those stats are so inflated by having Zach Edey on the floor. Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you think next year, right, without Zach Edey, Braden Smith is putting anywhere near those numbers, you're wrong because Zach Edey fundamentally changes the geometry on the basketball court, unlike any player we've seen in college basketball in at least, I don't know how many seasons, right? But Braden Smith is his ability to rack up those assists, rack up those rebounds, rack up those points is because he's playing with Zach Edey. He's never the best player on the basketball court. He just never is. Boo Buie is always the best player on the basketball court because, I mean, he was pulling threes from like basically, Canada
The logo.
against. Yeah, no, dude, that was unreal. Like that was actually unreal. But no, don't get me wrong. Massive respect for Braden Smith. I don't know where I was going. I don't know where I was. But anyway, they've got the guard play, right? Boo Buie, Ryan Langborg, sure. Even though there's no Ty Berry, season-ending injury, Northwestern has the guards. And, with Blake Smith kind of showing minutes off the bench at times, that's a good sign. Does like Justin Mullins get some run? Probably. I think that his athleticism might actually match up well against FAU, but it's going to be the battle inside. And I think that's really going to be the problem. I'm also kind of just worried about Northwestern playing against offensive-minded teams. Like we saw what happened against Iowa earlier this year. We saw what happened against Illinois on the road. Like it kind of concerns me a little bit. I'm also kind of that might be kind of an interesting thing for you, Dylan, to have a perspective on. But what do we feel like the fan attendance is going to be like from Northwestern, from FAU? Like, do we feel like it's going to be more Northwestern, more FAU? Is it just going to be a ton of UConn people that just like took up all the
That,
tickets?
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that because it's in the same session as the UConn, it'll be 80% UConn fans. So for the first half of the game, it's going to be empty. I mean, if you want to say who's going to be more attendance, Northwestern has a massive fan base located in New York area. However, you have to think about FAU, Boca, lots of Jews. Where are Jews from New York? There could be a good amount of FAU fans. I just have to feel like Northwestern will have that advantage of fans, but I don't think it'll be a ton more just because I think it'll be so many UConn fans buying up all these tickets. That's kind of the
How
way
about the
that
Stetson
I'm seeing
fan?
it.
You've never seen the Stetson fans like this.
All 15 of them, I'm sure, will be showing out in strong support, but it'll be interesting. I was thinking about that the other day as well, but
Yeah, I just think it's an
that
interesting perspective. Like, I mean, I would assume there's a good Northwestern. Oh, craziest thing happened to me yesterday while I was walking home. So I saw this guy and this girl, right? Probably a couple. I'm assuming. Um, Dude was wearing a Dolphins hat with a Dolphins hoodie. Girl was wearing a Northwestern sweatshirt. I was like, what is going on? I didn't say anything, but
why? You
I
should have made some friends.
no, I was so confused as I was walking. I was like, what is going on? And by the time that I'd realized what happened, they were past me.
Just
Um,
random New York.
how about Northwestern being one of 6 teams to get a little bit extra, insight? Like there's some behind the scenes stuff going on,
I like that.
like what
So, hey, here's my thing. NCAA doesn't want that to end all that quickly. They want to kind of get that extended. I'm just saying, maybe we get some
UConn
calls
is
in our
also
favor.
one of the teams.
Oh, well, hey, maybe we make it to the round of 32 at least. All I'm saying is Northwestern is 2-0 all time in the round of 64.
And
So
have an opportunity to be one of just 3 teams to win their first ever round of 64 games. The other 2 teams I am blanking on, but I did see the stat on Twitter earlier.
I didn't know that stat existed, but
Okay.
that's a cool stat. I'm trying to think who else do we need to talk about Brooks Barnhizer because
Oh,
I love
talk to me
Barnhizer.
about Brooks.
Brooks Barnhizer is like probably my favorite player on this Northwestern team. Like he's a dog. He came up to me after that.
Ryan Langborg.
No, it's
Okay, we're
it
gonna
was
play an
close.
over/under game after this.
Okay, well, it was close, but then Brooks Barnhizer coming up to me after that Minnesota game and being thankful for all we do with Wildside. I'm a huge Brooks fan. He had a little bit of a tough game against Wisconsin in terms of shooting. I think he went 0 for 5 from 3. And that's another one of those situations where if Brooks Barnhizer is hitting threes properly, Northwestern's winning this game easily. If he is struggling and has another one of those games where he can't really hit from long range, where do you look to kind of make that up? Because outside of Langborg and Bowie, when Langborg went down with foul trouble, Northwestern was not scoring at all. What do you do in that situation? That's going to be one of those things where you need Brooks to really turn it up. You need him to have an incredible game. I mean, last year, I'm thinking Chase Audige went off against UCLA, had a huge stretch where he was hitting some things after struggling a little bit in some games before. So maybe Brooks does that same thing here this year.
I think my biggest thing, I think Brooks, yes, but also Nick Martinelli. Like, I don't think I've seen him play this poorly in a while, except, outside of that Wisconsin game, right? Like, where he was legitimately could not make a bucket. Like, the left-handed floater wasn't working. Like, that's when you know something is fundamentally wrong. But if him and Barnhizer are able to kind of connect on some outside shots, kind of spread out the defense, like let Boo Buie work inside, that would be huge. But just kind of talking more about the absurdity of like kind of the draw for Northwestern. I mean, in their part of the bracket, in their quadrant of the bracket, there are 3 of the 4 Final Four teams from last year. I mean, just Northwestern is up against all odds. Obviously, the injuries coming into this year, right? Boo Buie's last season in Evanston. You've got, I mean, he's playing with the future essentially, and it's quite ugly. You've had moments of testy times, but this Northwestern team has weathered the storm and figured out a way to win games. And at the end of the day, that's what Chris Collins does best. That's what Boo Buie does best. But as we've promised, we're going to play a little over-under game. So let's start with Boo Buie points, right? I think that's always a fun one.
Okay.
I'm going to set the line at 18.5 for
Over.
Boo Buie points. I
That's
think
the easiest over.
it has to be over for them to win, I think.
I agree. Like if he doesn't hit that over, Northwestern has a guaranteed loss. I think he's going to end up trying to play a little bit of hero ball in this game, because that's what Boo Buie does. Especially, I assume he'll have large fan contingency just for him, and he wants to show off a little bit. Give me that over.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I might have set the line a little too low now that I'm thinking about it.
Like
Let's
if
go.
you said it at 21, that's where I would have like started to.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. That's. I feel like that. I feel like that's kind of high. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's like 18 and a half is still a good amount of points. Let's go with Brooks, and I want to talk about I think where he really needs to impact the game, and I think that's rebounding on the glass, especially without Matt Nicholson. Got to be able to grab some rebounds. So let's go with 8.5 for Brooks Barnhizer.
It's a good line.
Good
It's a
line.
good line.
I had to cook. I had to warm up a little. You know what I mean?
So here's what I think with Brooks. Even when he doesn't have the offensive production, and even when he's not putting up points, he has that dog in him. And he will always have that mentality that I need to be that one to get the rebound. I don't remember what game it was. I literally think it was the exhibition game that you called for WNUR Sports, where he gave a quote after the game and said something about how he wanted to like improve his defense and
That
improve his
actually is true.
rebounding.
I don't know how you know this. Like that is a throwback.
Because I remember you talking to me about this, and I don't know.
Oh,
It was
okay.
probably one of our random late night discussions. Anyways, he's had that dog in him this entire season where he's just been that guy to get those rebounds. And I think this game will be no other. Give me 11 rebounds for Brooks in this game.
I love it. Let's go Ryan Langborg. We know what he's able to do as sometimes as a facilitator, especially when Boo Buie's off the floor. But the reason that Northwestern brought him in, outside of just the sheer experience of being in the tournament, was the ability to shoot the 3 ball. So we're gonna go with an over/under on threes made for Ryan Langborg. I want to set the line at 3.5, but I feel like it's high, so I'm gonna set the line at 2.5 against FAU.
Okay, so I feel like I'm being just a homer in all of these picks
You're just going
because
with the over.
I'm more.
You're just like hammer the over.
I mean, here's the thing. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, which will play a large role in this, just because it's going to be very kind of action packed back and forth. I also think that this is what has to happen for Northwestern to win this game. It's if Northwestern wants to win this game, Langborg has to hit more than 2.5 threes. Do I think he will hit it? If he stays out of foul trouble, yes. If he ends up getting into foul trouble like the Wisconsin game, probably not. I mean, how many did he finish against Wisco? I
Uh,
don't remember what
who?
his numbers
Langborg?
were. Langborg, yeah.
He had like 5. Like I
He
can
had
look it up.
5 threes.
No. He finished with like 5 points.
5 points. Yeah, that's what I thought because he had that foul trouble. He missed a large part of that first half and then ended up fouling out, which that happens again. Northwestern,
Yeah,
they're going home.
he's just got to play smarter. Yeah, he had 5, went 1 of 3 from deep. In his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's got 3 games over 2.5 threes made. Remember, he had that game against Michigan, went 5 of 9 from deep. And he's had spurts where he's really been feeling it, but obviously other spurts where it hasn't gone his way. Let's move on to Nick Martinelli. Okay. And we're gonna go with a little bit more of a fun concept here. 2.5 lefty Nick Martinelli-esque like baskets made.
Okay, that's his bread and butter. That's what he's got. I almost feel like teams have scouted him so much now that I'm going to take the under on that one. But I
Wow.
think he's going to impact the game in other ways.
I love it. And lastly, this has to be the most fun one out of all of them. You thought Nick Martinelli left-handed.
Justin Mullins minutes.
No. Justin, now that might be a bonus round. Could be a bonus round. But we're gonna go with combined Luke Hunger and Blake Preston fouls. Okay. And we're gonna set the line, I think, at 8.5.
Oh no. For my heart, please say under. Well, if the over hits, one of them is gone. And
I feel like that's plausible though.
here's the thing. With FAU, Goldin is 7-1. To me, it just, I'm thinking, I mean, Edie's what, 7-4?
A 7-4.
So against that game in Purdue, Nicholson and Hunger both fouled out, and I think Preston had 3. So I'm just getting vibes that the over might end up hitting in that situation because they have to combine. Those two have to combine for 37 minutes in this game, essentially.
Oh yeah. I mean, they have to.
I think that here's my thinking. I think that Hunger is still young. So I think that him getting up to 4 fouls is definitely possible. I'm going to think Preston, has that experience to stay under. So give me the under, but I'm saying they're combining for 8.
Okay, they're combining for 8. I could see that. I could see that. I kind of wanted to set the line at 7.5, but I felt like that was definitely like an automatic over. Because I feel like 15-4, someone's gonna foul out. 5-3, like come on. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I got though. You got any fun ones?
Justin Mullet minutes over under 4.5.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough
Yeah.
because I want to say over because I think Justin Mullins on the court impacts the game like no other. If you want to talk about Miami Heat basketball, you're going to talk about Caleb Martin. That is kind of the vibe he gives me. Like, just like is he really a good offensive player? Like, I don't think so. Like, can he make the occasional offensive play? Sure. But wow, Justin Mullins, man. Like, that guy next year is going to be dominant. Like, I'm telling you, like, if he
Wait. No, I got a better one for you. Before you answer.
Okay.
Justin Mullins combined minutes and blocks 6.5.
Oh, that's just more confusing. I don't know.
Because he's had that game. Didn't he have that game with 5 blocks?
No, he had that game
randomly?
with like 4 blocks against Rutgers. But I just
Yeah.
like, I don't think he's getting like 2 blocks in 5 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. He could.
I think I'd take dude, if I just want Chris Collins to play him. Like, I think he gives you more. He gives you more than Jordan Clayton.
Yeah.
And Jordan Clayton, I could see a scenario where Jordan Clayton gets more minutes in this game than Justin Mullins. I'm gonna take the under on minutes, unfortunately. I really want to see the over. I will be cheering very loudly if that happens.
Randomly, who was your March Madness pick to win it all?
I have Purdue.
Wow. Okay.
Who do you have?
Wait. Virginia. I have Houston.
You have Houston. Interesting. Okay. So wait. Okay, let's we're diverting from Northwestern sports now. Now we're gonna talk just like general March Madness. Like,
I'm pulling up the bracket. What's your Final Four? Let's go through Final Fours.
Final Fours. Yeah, I gotta pull up my bracket, dude.
Okay. Yeah, because you said your bracket was like interesting.
Oh, it's interesting. I haven't like submitted it yet because I might look at it again tonight and be like, I can't do this.
I made about 13 changes today. Let's do actually
elite 13 changes
today. Okay, so I was waiting for my grandma. I had to go drive her. Like I was waiting for her, and you know what? I'm just getting bored. I'm just clicking and changing, and then I kept scrolling Twitter, and I kept seeing like only teams that do this meet this scenario.
Oh, I was like, no, all that stuff is baloney.
I don't know.
Okay,
I want to hear your Elite Eight.
So my Elite Eight.
Yeah. Who do you have in the East?
In the East. Wait, why does my phone not want to work? Okay, it's someone in East. It's someone in Iowa State. Okay, no, it's Auburn and Iowa State. Okay. Auburn shocks UConn.
So
in the Sweet 16.
I have the same thing. I have the same thing of Auburn beating UConn. I
I've got
had Iowa State for the longest time.
yeah.
And then today, I don't know what happened. I woke up and I was like, I need to change this. I have Auburn beating Drake.
Okay.
Drake is my Cinderella.
I
Drake is
love
my
it.
Cinderella team.
I have Alabama beating New Mexico in the Elite Eight. Then I
I
have
have UNC Mexico.
okay, so we like New Mexico. We're
Yes.
we're New Mexico fans. Um,
Yes.
then I've got Marquette over Houston,
So I have Houston over Marquette.
and I've got Purdue over Tennessee. And honestly, I feel kind of like sketchy about Tennessee being in the Elite Eight, just with the kind of issues they've had in postseason play. But I just think that they were too good in the regular season, and Dalton Connect might be a top 3 college basketball player this season, if not top 2. Like Zach Edey is one, but outside of that, it's hard to name another college basketball player better than Dalton Connect this year. So I think they make it to the Elite Eight.
That Tennessee loss in the SEC tournament to me is the thing that is like holding me back and it's giving me a bad taste in my mouth. I have them losing to Texas in the round of 32. And in my Elite Eight there, I have Creighton over Kansas.
Okay. How about you go? So I don't think Creighton makes it out of the round of 64. I think Oregon beats them. Just flat out. Like flat out, Oregon beats them. I just do not think Creighton is that good.
I
And
don't
I think
know.
Oregon is
They're giving me sneaky team. They're just giving me sneaky team vibes.
okay. Give me your surprise pick, your most surprise pick, one that no one is going to see happening in the round of 64. Give me the one. Give me your sneaky I don't want a Dayton. I don't want a Dayton, Nevada. I don't want a. I don't want a Michigan State, Mississippi State. I want a sneaky under the radar. Dylan called this now pick.
Like I don't have a ton of those. I have a good amount of 12-5 and 11-6 upsets. I think 12-5 is probably my biggest upset. I was like there were a couple of ones where I was going back and forth on. I could see Vermont knocking off Duke.
I can see
I
it. I'm
could
not gonna lie. I can see it.
I was really tempted. I have
That
James
mounts.
Madison over Wisconsin, but I
I
feel
have
like you
that.
definitely also
Oh, I have
Madison
that.
over Wisconsin. Yep. Um NC State is my team where I'm like, can they continue this magical run? Because right now I have NC State over Kentucky in the round of 32. And I think that's my biggest thing. And then I have NC State finally losing to Marquette. But I just think they have a little bit more magic left in them. So that's my thing is NC State to their Sweet 16.
So my biggest thing was I wanted Samford over Kansas because I think Kansas might be the most fraudulent basketball team in America, but I still think that their starting five is better. It's as one of the best starting fives in the country. It's just their depth; they don't have it. I think that they can get past Samford. They will get beaten by McNeese in the round of 32 because McNeese will beat Gonzaga. However, my big surprise one that no one is going to put in their bracket that I'm calling here, and I'm clipping this and quoting this, and if this happens, you will never hear the end of it. But give me Oakland over Kentucky in the round of 64.
I was
Horizon
debating
League champion. Oakland over dude,
I,
Kentucky, like another team, like literally they could be so good or they could be so bad.
I like it.
You know,
No, I like it.
yeah.
That's why I have Kentucky losing NC State. That's just also Florida goes down round one.
No. Florida's gonna get a win. They're gonna lose to Marquette though, and then it's gonna all be over.
I think the craziest thing that's going to happen here is when Jim Larrañaga rises from the floor and Norchad Almir somehow signs with a team and the University of Miami Hurricanes win the national championship.
So okay, so let's walk this one back. Where did U Miami finish in the ACC this season?
That doesn't matter. That
Second to
doesn't
last.
matter.
And who did they lose to?
Oh, oh wait, yeah, there's 15 teams in the ACC. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys were better than Louisville. Congrats. No, but like the bracket too is like crazy. Like the disrespect to the Mountain West, the disrespect to the Big East.
Yep.
Seton Hall should have been in. I don't know. I could go on.
Indiana State.
Indiana State, it was the right decision to keep them out.
I would have had Indiana State in my Elite Eight if they were in.
But that's just the madness of March. Like you've got teams that have been like that were good at the beginning of the year. Like for example, actually, I guess Wisconsin doesn't fit that mold now, because they made a run in the Big Ten tournament. But you got teams that kind of slowed down. For example, like a Duke. Like Duke has struggled of late, but they're a 4 seed, and you've got them matched up against a conference winner in Vermont. And you've got teams like NC State that should not be in the tournament, except they won the ACC. So they're in the tournament. So you've just got all these teams.
5 games in 5 days is the most incredible thing I think I've ever
No,
seen.
no, 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 no,
They
no,
beat
no, 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 no.
UNC.
No. The crazier thing is more wins in 5 days in Capital One Arena than the Wizards all season. That is the stat you need to know. That's all you need to know. So Northwestern basketball, it's March. It's bigger than it's bigger than Northwestern. As John Rossian would say, it spreads. Yeah, go Cats, really.
Yeah. Go Cats. Boca is a place. It's just a place. I love Boca. All my friends live in Boca.
You have
I'm hoping
friends.
that. Yeah,
Love
I
you
know.
too.
Shocker. Adam didn't want to come down to South Florida to hang out with me, just so
because I
everybody.
knew Northwestern would be here, and who was right?
You're missing an electric Florida Panthers game Thursday night. Whiteout. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I don't know why we're doing a whiteout for a Panthers
Against
game.
who?
Nashville.
Interesting.
I don't own any white Panthers gear.
What?
I don't own white Panthers gear.
Oh, that's so. Yeah. What do you even wear?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna go buy something before the game starts.
You gotta get like a sweatshirt or something.
I might just go buy a jersey.
Oh, that's right. You don't have an away jersey. That's what I would.
Yeah, I might go buy one.
Well, this is not a Panthers podcast. This is a Wildcats podcast, and I guess a Panther is a wildcat. But yeah, let's not turn this into a South Florida sports talk because that's just going to get very ugly very quickly, especially with the Marlins right now. But on that bombshell,
Tongue over.
go Northwestern.